Over the next few minutes, I'll introduce you to such a powerful concept that from this moment on, you'll rarely, if ever, live another moment in regret. You see, the reason I'm making this video is because, like every other human being on the planet, I also have some regrets. In fact, the very first one that I remember, I have a vivid memory and also proof for that. You see, this old notebook, this was my first ever journal. I started writing this back in 2015, so almost a decade ago. And the most interesting thing about this journal is the last page. As you can see, a lot of pages are empty, but the last page is the most striking one. Because this is what it reads: Date 4th June 2017, day Sunday. Then the first words are Dear Diary, comma, then nothing. It's an empty page. And for the rest of my life, I will never know what word was going to follow Dear Diary on 4th June 2017. I made a promise to myself that of course I'm going to write. But then probably something came up, something I had to talk about. I don't even remember that day. But this notebook exists as a living proof of what regrets look like and eventually how much of our lives they take away from us. Because now, no matter how hard I try, I cannot go back in time and live 4th June 2017 all over again. And I'll never know what that day was. And just like that, there are so many promises that we make to ourselves, promises that we fail to keep. We say we'll do something, but then we don't. We say we'll talk about something, but then we don't. If these are promises that we make to other people, we apologize, we say sorry, and we express our regret openly. But what if those promises are something that you make to yourself? Do you apologize to yourself? Or do you just bury everything behind you and let it go and watch that mountain of regret build? Watch that mountain of regret rise up in the sky until it is so high that you cannot look beyond it and live the life that you wanted to live. Live the life that would have brought you joy. It starts with the tiny things, but before we know it, the regrets keep building above each other, and that then just makes us lose our trust in ourselves because we think, I promised so many things to myself. I said I'd do this. I said I'd reach out to that person. I said I'd follow this dream, but then I didn't. How will I know if I can do the next thing now? And before we know it, we are in a negative spiral where we're no longer trusting ourselves. And that is not the place where we want to be. So how do we get out? How do we live our lives in a way that is regret free? And that idea is building a personal integrity account. This is one of the most fascinating concepts I've come across in my whole life. The first time I read this was when I read the book First Things First by Stephen Covey. It's one of the best books that you can read, and I highly recommend that you do. But this concept especially changed my life. It taught me what it really means to start doing the right things in a way that you can live a life that's beyond regrets, a life that's full of happiness, full of positive and empowering memories. And the idea behind that is simple. You build a personal integrity account where you make promises to yourself and then you keep them. You keep building those positive experiences over and over and over. Instead of a mountain of regret, you build a mountain of positivity and empowerment. That is the change that this idea promises. So how does this work out? Very simple. If you say to yourself, I'm going to start writing today, and then you keep that promise, you add a positive balance to your personal integrity account. It grows by just a bit. The next time when you promise to yourself that I'll go out and I'll go for a jog at 4 a.m. and you do that, that means you are adding onto that personal integrity account. Just like that, there are many countless things that you can do to keep building that account over and over. And now, why is this important? Because this builds one of the most powerful things in our lives, and that is our self worth, our self belief, and our confidence in our ability. When you do all the small things right and you know that you can keep the promises you made to yourself, you will also know that when the challenges come, when the problems come, when you really have to break through a barrier, you will be able to do it with that confidence and with that same energy. The first time I ever implemented this concept in a big way was when I wrote my first book, Explore the New You. I wrote that book in less than 50 days. From idea to publishing, I did all the process, the first draft, the second draft, the editing, everything that goes into making a book in less than 50 days. And when I tell people this story, the very first question I hear is, oh my God, how did you do this? Like, wasn't it too difficult? How did you find the motivation? And the answer is, I didn't have to find the motivation, and it wasn't difficult because I never really wrote that book in the first 50 days. The process that built my confidence for writing the book happened over the last 1.5 years when I consistently wrote on my blog every single week. Back in July 2019, when I first started my blog, I made a promise to myself. Every 2 weeks, I'll write about something that I care about. I started that very day, and then I kept that promise. Every week, my writing improved. Every week, I started getting new insights from people, and with each day that passed, my thoughts became more clear. Then in 2020, I made that weekly. I doubled the pace, and I kept that promise too. And eventually, I had written almost 50 blog posts by the time I even started working on my book. And those 50 blog posts built my confidence because I followed my promises, because I built that trust in myself and I kept this personal integrity account growing. I got the confidence to write that book. I knew in my heart that if I could do so much and if I could write so many blogs, writing a book is actually an easy task. It's not that difficult, and if I give it my all, which I was ready to give, I will make it. And I made it 2 days before my deadline. And that is why building this personal integrity account matters so much, because we live in an overwhelming world. Distractions are right around the corner. Every moment, you have to make one choice, either between your work or between thousands of distractions that are just waiting for you to look away and then capture your attention. That is the world we are living in. It's a sad fact, but it's true that most of our times we spend doing things distracted. And if we don't have confidence or ability in ourselves, we won't be able to focus on things that matter, and we'll just escape to the distractions that feel easier. That might work in the short term, but in the long term, it really damages us and then builds up that mountain of regret. To build up that mountain of empowerment and of positive emotions and memories, you need to start working on building this personal integrity account. And that is what we'll learn now, how you can do that very simply. And the process is very similar to opening a bank account. What's the requirement there? Oftentimes, it's a minimum balance. In your personal integrity account, the minimum balance is a positive number. And that means any positive number. And that is why the first step is start small but start sure. Pick up a promise that you know is very easy for you to fulfill. Let's say you are someone who's really good at cooking and you promise to yourself, I'll make myself dinner tonight. It's easy for you. You're someone who likes doing it and you know you're going to do it anyway. But by making that promise and keeping it, you open your account with a positive balance, +1. Then the next day, when you keep another small promise, that balance goes to +2, +3, +4, +10, +100, +1000, and so on. And anytime you slip up on it, you withdraw some amount. If you, let's say, mess up on a big promise or on a big project, maybe that +1000 goes to +500. But that number is not negative. Why? because you've built it up for so long. And that number translates to a sense of confidence. When you've worked on something for so long and you just mess up one time, you know that's not your whole personality. You know that's not who you are and that this was just a mistake. And you can come back up. You can get started again. But if the balance is negative to begin with, just getting to zero takes a lot of effort. And that is why it's important to start small but start sure. The second step is to keep growing the balance every single day. And the best way to do that is to document your growth. When you make that first promise, find a way to store your experience. Maybe record a voice note on your phone. Or if you're someone who likes writing, pick up a notebook and write your experience that day. Document your journey. Then the next day, do the same thing. But please, don't make the mistake I made and don't write dear diary and leave it that guilt is going to eat you a lot. But make sure that you document your growth in any format you like, whether it's digital, physical, whatever. But make sure that you have that evidence that you can see yourself growing day by day. That itself does so much to build your confidence and to keep you growing. And when you have done that, you can move on eventually to the third step, and that is challenge yourself every single day. Once you know that you can do things to a certain caliber, you can start expanding your promises, start going out of your comfort zone, start exploring new ideas and doing things that are uncertain and maybe even a little risky. Those are the things that will truly fuel your growth, the things that will make you shine, make you work, and make you grow in the best way possible. And when you do that, you will be able to find yourself in a position of power where your confidence and your ability both are at the top and your results, your actions, and everything else is matching up to that. And that brings me to the final and the fourth step in this journey, that is celebrate your success. You've done so much, from going and living in a life of regret to coming to a life of empowerment is a massive achievement. And when you get there, you should feel that and you should celebrate that. Whenever you do something, even if you write just the first promise and you work on that, celebrate it. And it can be even the most trivial thing, that does not matter. What matters is bringing that energy, bringing that passion, and bringing that love into this, bringing that energy into your work. And the first step you can take to do that is make sure to write the first promise that you make in the comments. Build that public accountability, and I'd love to be here with you on that journey. What is the first promise that you'll keep to yourself to open this personal integrity account? And if you feel like it, edit that comment or reply to it and celebrate that success by sharing with me how it felt to do something that really empowered you. And together we can start bringing this positive loop and taking action on it, so that every step of the way we are growing, we are learning, and we are achieving, and not just regretting. It really is as simple as that. All it takes is one promise to get started. The first step is all that matters, because once that positive feedback loop kicks in, you will keep going, you will keep growing, and you will never want to stop. Do subscribe to the channel and share this video with anyone you think will find this helpful. And know that I'm always here, always rooting for your success. Thank you.